Yo, what up, Chad? Today we're going to be talking about car movie. Yeah, car movie. I'm just kidding. It's Formula One. F1 the movie. And I just saw it about 2 days ago, and I want to get my thoughts on it. And in order to maintain and not get copyrighted, I'm going to play some Sonic. So, we're going to be doing that. Alright. So first things first about the movie. It stars Brad Pitt, and it tells the story about Sonny Hayes and Joshua Pierce. Now, I don't know if these are actually real F1 people that have been relevant, but I feel like they do convey some stuff to the story. But anyways, so how the movie kicks off is that basically Sonny Hayes is been out of the racing industry for about 30 years because he suffered a fatal injury. And so that's why in turn he raced for Daytona, and when he raced for Daytona, what happened is that he basically called it one and done, and people don't know the reason why, because he's really good at racing. He's phenomenal at racing. But he quit it early. But he quits because of the back injury he suffered. That was actually quite fatal. And so basically, he's been out of the game for 30 years. He's not washed, but he's lost his sense and love for racing in general. So what does he do? Well, his friend Ruben is his name, and he works for this company called Apex. And basically with Apex, it basically is a racing company, and it gives him one last chance to race one last time that he was offering to him. And he asked this lady this question while he was at the diner and said, "Hey, what if your best friend gave you an offer that was too good to be true?" And she said, "How much?" And he said, "It ain't about the money." And she said, "So what is about then?" And he thought about that, and he was right. So he got a first class ticket to London, and in turn he also met this guy named Joshua Pierce that Sonny Hayes finds quite controversial and cocky and arrogant and all. And he is. Yeah, he's definitely a jerk at the beginning of the movie. 100%. He pushes him around and all. He thinks that he's all bad in 20 cents. And Sonny's like, "You're really good at it, man. Just drive the car. It's all noise, the media and everything." And he doesn't understand that at first. So basically, Sonny goes to audition to join the team. And he actually passes the record. Now, he does crash, and he crashes a lot in this movie. We'll talk about what the crashes mean later. But what basically happens is that when he crashes, he actually beats the time of Joshua Pierce. I am terrible at Sonic. I am so washed, guys. I'm sorry. So he beats the record of Joshua Pierce, in turn, meaning that he's able to join the team. He's able to join the racing team. Now, during the time that he was washed, Sonny Hayes, right? You think he could go on with life, this and that? No, he did quite the opposite, actually. Oh my gosh, I've died 20 times, man. I'm so sorry, chat. But he goes into gambling. He has ex-wives and all. He's living in a van. He's struggling. He still loves racing, but he's been struggling. And we'll find out later why. Then also, So there's that guy that asked them that in the interview, and he just has to take it all in, and they say no more questions, which is absolutely fair, because like, who's gonna be asking like, how has your ex-marriage been, and like, why'd you go into gambling? And let me tell you guys something. Oh my gosh. Why is this brain rot on my screen? You know what? We're gonna play it. Chat, I'm zooming. Oh, no. I was never a good driver. Anyways. So basically, what happens is that he starts flirting with the tech director. And her name is, I forgot her name, but she's pretty relevant to the story. And it turned, he started flirting with her. But then also on top of that, they have their first race, and Joshua's crashing out. So basically, after the first race, Sunny goes into his an ice bath that's there, and he's just trying to cool down. And there's these things that he keeps on throwing cards for a reason. Now, I should have explained this later on, but I'm gonna explain now because it's my video. Those cards are basically because his dad was a gambler. You know, he never really had a good childhood. His dad was a gambler. He was a bad dude and all that. So that's why he keeps these cards to remember his dad. And his dad was not the most pleasant person to be around. So once when he starts flirting and all, he asks questions about like the car, of how they can do stuff differently than the average team. And she's like, absolutely not. And then he also asks, is she single? Are you married? This and that. And that goes into a whole different conversation. That's quite funny, actually. Let me get this guy. Die! Thank you. And so that goes into a whole conversation. So basically, Sunny does stuff differently that is actually quite smart. So during the first race, what they do is that they're like, no, stick to the plan, like don't have him out and all. But actually, during it, he was damaging the property, so that way a safety car would have to go, which could give Joshua time to be able to take the lead. And so also when it was about to foul, he just drove through the debris, so that way it didn't count as a foul. Also just to let you guys know, this is spoiler review, so, and I'm not dropping a spoiler-free review because there's a lot to uncover in that movie. So basically, what happens after that is they realize, okay, he's not as crazy as he thought, and he calls this thing called Plan C, and they call it Plan Chaos, but actually, it's more of Plan Calculated. See what I did there? Get out! But anyways, so it's kind of calculated of what he does for all these things. Buying Joshua time, this and that, which is actually great. So, oh my gosh, this is the furthest I made it. Lock in, chat! So, basically, after what happens with that, they start taking him seriously. And Joshua, main goal is that he's talking to his mom, and he's like, there's this new guy, he's really old, this and that. And Joshua Pierce is really cocky, really arrogant, and always thinks about himself, not really of anyone else. And he has a love for racing like any young person would. He's young, like, really young. No, okay. I'm not watching an ad for that. But basically, so when Joshua appears, it's like that they go into the second race. And with this strategy, they start figuring out what to do. And you know, as we go back, we will rewind. Sunny Hayes is still flirting with the tech director. And she's actually telling a lot more. And she said, you have a car that's for combat now. It's like, that's cool. Okay, great. But the thing about it too, though, is that also she tells how she had an ex-wife and all. Also, guys, we're going to be playing a bit of Brawl Star. Yeah, y'all.
Let's see what's buzzing!
Just a little bit of Brawl Star here. So, after that, what happens is that, so, after he's flirting and all, they basically are doing great in the race. You know, Joshua Pierce is 4th place, he's doing great, he's locked in, you know, he's listening to
so tired.
And this and that, and he's trusting him. But something very tragic happens, and basically, Sunny told him to wait, but instead Joshua went off on his own, and that in turn burns his hand and flipped the car, which basically made them waste $150 million. Yeah, not fun. What's up?
Calm down, everyone.
Like, your hand is burnt. That's just terrible. And so, in turn, his mom takes it out on Sunny because he's like, hey, you heard of this now. He's like, I'm coming for you the next time that happens. And rightfully so, you know, because everyone is protective of their child.
Whoa, chill.
Like, that's a very respectable thing to do. Like, they don't want to see their babies get hurt. They don't want to see them cry. They don't want to see this and that. Unless they need to. Unless they want to. So, Joshua is working on it. You know, he's locked in. He's trying to get rid of it. But actually, it was all just revenge for Sunny. And he basically tilts Sunny's car because he thought they were working together, and Joshua is coming more cocky than ever, and that's not good. So they have a discussion about that, and basically Sunny says, while they're trying to play it off like, hey, this is all part of the publicity stuff, he said, what you smiling at? You didn't put anything. You didn't come in 1st place. Why you smiling? This and that. Yada yada yada. And it's very Sunny because many years in the game, more than Joshua could even comprehend. He's basically the man with wisdom.
Whatever.
And it's true. He definitely is. But Joshua doesn't listen to him. You know, he thinks he's dumb. But he's actually giving legit advice. So they're having this spicy conversation. Not like that. Kind of a quarrel, if you will.
Calm down,
and so
everyone.
The tech director, I'll figure out her this video. But the tech director is basically saying, I can't deal with this. So she writes a note that brings them together. And you know, they play poker. She said, we're gonna do this my way. We're gonna do this my way. And if you can do that, then you'll be happy to leave. And we're gonna settle this. And so they start getting to poker. You know, they're having a decent time, a serviceable time. And Sunny is actually dropping some news on him. But then Joshua goes to the club and he feels different about it. Because he's saying, I gotta go this. I gotta drive out the car. So he leaves. Yeah.
Calm down, everyone.
A 20 to 25-year-old leaving the club.
Hey!
Just because. Where there's plenty of chicks, plenty of people to hang out with, and he's just like,
Good night.
no, thank you. And I respect him for that. And also, ever since he's burned his hand, Sunny has been carrying all this. So they finally actually get to start working as a team. And
Yay!
Sunny
Woohoo!
basically says, alright, tell me about the kid. And it's, I believe, in Italy,
Sand
where
shroud.
they race again. And you know, Sunny is, no, Joshua Pierce is back on the track, which is great, you know? And he actually starts to figure out what teamwork
Whoa,
is,
chill!
what his dreams are, what he
Sleep,
wants to
chance
be,
to dream.
that. And they actually start working cohesively,
Calm
and
down,
everybody
everyone.
starts to believe Sunny. They think he's working like smarter, not harder, which is great. The thing about it though is that there's this other race, and they're racing in Las Vegas. And Sunny, with that injury that I told you guys about earlier, it finally comes back to bite him. And in turn, with Sunny, he basically starts racing angry. And that's legit.
I guess I'll have to
Not
do
just because
stuff.
of personal reasons, but just because of physical reasons. He's not supposed to be racing. He's not supposed to be doing those things. And after Ruben finds out, he's like, why didn't you tell me? And that's fair, because he's like, I have this client that has had a back injury for over 30 years that hasn't told me nothing and could basically die. So he regrets pretty much everything he starts looking into this. And so then, finally, Joshua, for real, starts taking a role in Sunny and making him proud. And Sunny comes back for one last race for the deadline. This is the first race of the
Chance to dream.
and he said, I'll die in that car if that happens.
So tired.
And Ruben, kind of being the sucker he is like, alright, fine. You can race one more time.
Whoa, chill!
But if you get hurt, it's on you. And that's fair.
Victory!
So they go out for this final race. And I remember there was this conversation between the tech director and Sunny. And they got a little intimate, to say the least. I'm not gonna disclose what happened, but let's just say she broke the work boundaries. But anyways, so he tells this conversation to the tech director while they're out on the balcony, and he says, you know, there's always a point when I'm in the car and everything just goes quiet. And when it goes quiet,
I guess I'll have to do stuff.
I'm flying. Nobody can touch me, this or that.
Sleep,
And
chance
he
to
hasn't
dream.
felt that feeling in over 30 years, ever since his injury. Which is kind of sad to think about. And it's honestly, you could just picture you flying in the car like that's
Sandstorm!
So they go out to race. And they're actually working as a team. They say, if you could just buy me some time, if we
I
could go
guess I'll have
from
to do stuff.
a 0.1 second lead, that's gonna lead up from winning and losing. So Sunny is locked in, Joshua is locked in, everything. And they're actually playing together. And they have really fast pit stops, 60 miles per hour and all that, and it's just a full which is great. And
Yay! Woo-hoo.
Joshua Pierce spins out,
Relax.
and Sunny actually
Nighty-night.
up because Joshua was in first place at some point. It was actually at
For the
2
win.
points of the race. And so Sunny is just, he's flying. And I mean, he's just flying through the course. And he realizes again what he loves about racing. It's not about the money. It's not about flying yourself. It's not about the things that you need. It's just determination, willpower, and perseverance, which I think is a great message to send to anyone that needs that. And even though people may say that you're not in your prime, people may say that you don't know what you're doing.
Whoa, chill.
They don't know nothing because they haven't seen the real you. Barely got freaking Primo! Stupid SpongeBob.
You also have to do stuff.
But anyways, so after he's won, he basically leaves Abu Dhabi, and the final race has concluded. Oh, and also, I forgot to mention this, but...
Whoa, chill.
You wrinkled my skin.
Okay, thank you. But basically,
Calm down, everyone.
also, the guy that's been invested into Apex gave them the opportunity. And also, I forgot, but the reason
Did
why
I do something?
Sunny was so mad is not just because of his physical condition, but also because they got forged signatures about their car that was produced by the investor, which is not great at all. Yeah, all those lies were produced by the investor. And he said, hey, you can be the face of Apex if you want to. And Sunny's like, nah, and he basically flips him off. This is a really funny scene. I feel like it's one of the best scenes. But, so after they're done racing, the investor is basically like, dang, he wasn't there, this and that. So then Sunny leaves and Joshua takes the role for the name of Apex, the name of the company. And that's great because he's actually figured out. He said, I gotta focus on the car. And he actually turned down the publicity that his brother was giving him, which is great. So then, at the very end, he goes to the desert. And there are these Mexican people. And he said, I heard you guys need a new racer. And it's like, we can't pay much. He said, it's not about the money. So what is it about? And that's the end of the movie. I give this movie a 9 out of 10. It is not perfect. It's not Dark Knight, but it's a really good movie. From the story to the character development that was actually quite substantial, to the acting, to the moments that actually fell through very seamlessly, very on time. And I think it was just honestly a really good movie. I would give Formula 1, the movie, a 9 out of 10. But that's just my opinion. Let me know your guys' in the comments, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye.